Batman and Superman were forced into fighting a massive group of DC heroes. They were sent by Gog and called the Justice Brigade, and it wasn't like they were fighting them one after another. The two of them were taking on every single one of them at the same time and actually giving them a run for their money. But Superman wasn't confident that they'd come out victorious, so he used his freeze breath to freeze Wonder Woman and then attempted to grab Batman so they could retreat. But unfortunately he was unsuccessful because Zatanna used her abilities to wrap him up in a magical chain. Moments later, she gave Etrigan the Demon the green light to grab him, but Batman wasn't gonna let that happen, hurling a batarang right into his eye, which bought Superman just enough time to break free of his restraints. Unfortunately, just moments later, they were bombarded by Supergirl and Shazam, two absolute powerhouses. Batman managed to avoid Supergirl with a Kryptonian martial arts technique, but it didn't matter because there was still what seemed like an endless amount of heroes left to face, and eventually they were able to subdue him, which meant Clark was their only hope of escaping. But because he was already extremely exhausted, he couldn't manage to defend himself when Hal Jordan, John Stewart, and Firestorm collectively used their abilities to help Shazam put him down. Soon him and Bruce were taken to Gog's throne, where Gog ordered Kingdom Come Superman and Batman to imprison them in the catacombs, which infuriated Clark into a rant about how Kingdom Come Superman didn't deserve to wear the symbol of hope on his chest, especially not after letting David, aka Thunderman, turn into a monster despite initially being raised the right way. Upon being taken to the catacombs where pretty much every single villain out there was being imprisoned, Clark couldn't help but think about Gog's throne. It looked so familiar, but he couldn't pinpoint why. He couldn't pinpoint why until they were taken to their cell, because sitting inside of it was none other than its original owner, Metron, shriveled up in a dark corner exclaiming how he was so hungry, but not for food, for knowledge, because he was actually a genius explorer whose only desire was obtaining as much knowledge as possible. But that desire was stripped away from him after being isolated in prison for so long that he wanted to know anything that Batman and Superman could tell him. Meanwhile, David and Gog were having a discussion where David expressed interest in rebelling against Gog. He felt horrible for having to act like he didn't know who Prime Superman and Batman were in front of the other heroes because they were once his friends and mentors, but Gog convinced him that that wasn't important, that he needed to focus on the bigger picture, the plans they had been setting in motion for years to unlock the Ultimate Kingdom. But in order to bring those plans to life, David needed to confirm that he was ready for the next stage, and upon doing so, Gog used his powers to transform him into an insanely powerful warrior known as Magog. But sadly, that's when our issue comes to an end, but if you want to see what happens next, let me know in the comments down below.